We are young adults,
surrounded by a world of sin.
and this is
The Fire Within.
Hello, I'm Chase.
I'm Lawson.
And this is
The Fire Within.
Welcome back. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, like, and tap that bell for more notifications on when we post.
Join us when we ignite your Monday nights, and we'll be posting our shorter videos throughout the week. And make sure to follow us at the Fire Within podcast on Instagram, and our personal instas will be in the bio of that.
Lawson will be leading our podcast today, and also, just for a disclaimer, his microphone is partially broken.
Yeah, so if it sounds staticky,
that's why. But we're doing our best to make it not.
Okay. So today we will be talking about trusting God, something that many Christians probably struggle with at some point in life, especially either like when they're starting out, when they're a new believer, or even when they've known God for a long time, they could still struggle with trusting God. And I mean, it's just a thing that all believers go through, or whether they're like going away from Him,
or in a dry season of life.
Dry season and different seasons. So we'll be talking about what that looks like and different aspects of that today. So first thing, what does it look like? What does putting your full trust in God look like? And first thing is believing in His reliability. Because, many Christians, like I said, they could fall out of trusting God. They could start to believe like they might have hardship in their life. And they believe,
so because this happened, God, I'm doubting you.
Yeah, exactly. They start to believe that like, well, I did put my trust in you, but all this happened, so like I don't think you're reliable anymore. They could start to doubt His reliability.
Mm-hmm.
And when you set your life on Him and what He tells you, it will change your life. He doesn't just tell us these things to say them, He completely means them.
Yeah.
Because He is a God He's a personal God. He's not just a deity above us that wants to control us like puppets. Mm-hmm. He wants a relationship with us.
In John 15, God, actually, I could pull it up. But God is basically, for the first time, saying that He wants to become relational with us. And we don't really hear that a lot in the Bible, in the Old Testament. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves, because a master does not confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends, since I have told you everything the Father told me. You did not choose me, I chose you. Mm-hmm. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. This is my command: love each other. Mm-hmm. And in this, He's calling us His friends. And that's a relational title.
Exactly.
Like whether it be a boyfriend or a best friend or a girlfriend, whatever it is, mm-hmm. Our friends, that is a relationship, a type of relationship.
Yeah.
And sometimes in seasons, it can be like, oh, well, God, just like a friend, you can let me down. Just like a whatever, you can let me down. Just like a mom or a dad or anyone. We're constantly let down by humans, but we have to remember that although we are relational with God, He is the perfect presentation of what we're supposed to be of.
Exactly. So verses go along with what we're talking about. First one I have, 2 Thessalonians 3:3. The Lord is faithful. He will strengthen you and guard you from the evil one. The first line, but the Lord is faithful, meaning He will never give up on us. We should never give up on Him either. When we fully put our trust in Him, He's faithful to us.
He's just waiting for our yes.
Exactly. He's waiting for us to surrender to Him, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, that's the first verse.
I actually have a story.
Okay, tell me, man.
So my dad just told me this story. It's funny how God works. Like I didn't even tell my dad what topic we were doing. Mm-hmm. But yesterday I'm driving home from work and my dad was talking to me and he goes, it's so funny how we make things so much more complicated when we don't trust God. When we assume that our way is better, when we assume that it's our flesh talking, like, oh, like, no, like, whatever, and we doubt God. But anytime God speaks to you, it is going to benefit someone else. So my dad told me this story, and he said, if I would have just said yes when God told me, I would not have gone through all this. He was at work, and it was pouring down rain, and he had a $300 Carhartt jacket on. And he was working in the rain with all these guys. And he looked across the street, and there was a homeless man wearing a blanket soaking wet, walking down the street. And he worked in the city of Portland, Oregon, so busy streets, it constantly raining, muddy, everything, right? Chaos. So he's looking at him, and he automatically felt the Lord say, you need to go give that guy your jacket. And he was like, no, that's not God. God would not tell me to give away my brand new $300 jacket to a random guy. Like, he's good, I have other jackets, whatever. So he's waiting, and then he can't shake the feeling. So he goes, maybe God's telling me to just give him a jacket. So he goes into his truck, and he's like looking at all the jackets he has, and he's like, yeah, I could totally. And then he's like, no, like, this is my flesh. Like, God is not actually telling me to do this.
Yeah.
So the day comes to an end, and he never gave the guy the jacket. And so he's driving home, and he's like, God, please let me see this guy on my drive home. Like, let me run into this guy on my drive home, like, and I'll stop and I'll give him my jacket. Like, I'm so sorry that I didn't obey you, because now I'm filled with guilt and shame because I did not listen to you, and I know that that's what you wanted me to do. Mm-hmm. So he says, if you bring that guy to me today or tomorrow, I will give him my jacket. So the next day comes around, and he said he couldn't even focus on his work because he literally was thinking the whole day, I need this guy to come around. I need this homeless man to walk by because I need to give him my jacket. So he couldn't focus on work the entire day. And at the end of the day, he hops in the work truck with all of the other guys, and he's driving, and he's just like filled with shame. And he's like, I should have listened to you, God. Like, God, please, I will do anything to give this guy my jacket, because keeping this jacket is not worth this guilt and shame that I'm going to walk away with. Yeah. And surely enough, they're driving on the highway, 5 roads across. It's pouring down rain. Traffic is crazy. Cars going everywhere. That homeless man is across the street.
Oh my gosh.
So he yells, everyone stop the car, stop the car, stop the car. So they stop the car, and he hops out, folds up his Carhartt jacket, and he runs across the street to the guy, and he goes, hey man, like, I really felt like God was telling me, like, I should give you this jacket. And so here I am, like, it's $300, really nice. And the guy goes, nah, I'm good. And he's like, no, like, I really felt like I'm supposed to give you this jacket. Like, it's pouring down rain. I know, like, you need a jacket. It's freezing cold. Like, here's this really nice Carhartt jacket. And he goes, no, I got 3 of those. And my dad's like, dude, I know you do not have 3 of these jackets already. Like, you're freezing cold in the rain. And the guy's like, I don't want that jacket. Like, I just don't want it. So, please just go. Like, don't give me the jacket. And he's like, cool. So he walks back into the truck, and every guy in the truck is like, what are you doing? Like, why were you doing that? And he's like, that guy didn't want my jacket, and I swear the Lord told me to give it. So he's driving home, and he goes, I swear, even if the guy would have said no on the first day, I would not have had to go through all of that trouble and all of that guilt and all of that shame if on the first day the Lord told me to give that guy my jacket. I would have walked up to him and said, I felt like I should give you my jacket, when he was right there in front of me. When the opportunity God has called us to is right there in front of us, even if the door is closed, even if they say no, it is so much easier for us to obey God instead of having to walk through 5 roads of pouring down rain and traffic.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's really good. The next verse, Exodus 34, 6-7. The Lord passed in front of Moses, calling out, Yahweh, the Lord, the God of compassion and mercy. I am slow to anger and filled with unfailing love and faithfulness. I lavish unfailing love to 1,000 generations. I forgive iniquity, rebellion, and sin, but I do not excuse the guilty. This is saying how God is filled with unfailing love and faithfulness. That's one of the lines. It says that he lavishes unfailing love to 1,000 generations, meaning if we put our trust in God now, we won't regret it later. And like
If we put
our
our trust in God now, then our future plans are in His hands. Our children's plans are in His hands.
Yeah.
Their children and their children, etc., are all in His hands, because it starts right now.
Yeah.
It starts with
Starts right
you putting your trust in Him.
Yeah, like making covenant with Him. Okay, the last verse for this section, Hebrews 13:8. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And this may not sound like a verse about trusting God when you first look at it, but think of when, like, when you're so in the trusting God. Like if you find Christ and you're in the best season of your life, and then you start to trust Him, and then you trust Him for a long time, or even like a short period of time, and like everything is going perfect, but then things start to like die down, or things start to like go dry, like you said, like a dry season, and then you may think to yourself, that like, well, I put my trust in Him, but now that things are going wrong, like He's not there anymore, or like I'm just gonna move away from Him, I'm gonna stray further from Him. It says right here that He's the same today, yesterday, and forever, and His love never goes anywhere. His faithfulness never goes anywhere. His mercies are fresh each morning; they never go anywhere. And this reminds me of like at my high school's retreat, like on worship nights. It's so powerful and it's amazing. It's one of the best nights of my life, and I'm crying, like everybody's crying. And like that night was like, this specific year in general was like so perfect, but then I get back to school and then it feels like it just has gone away. They just don't feel God anymore, or they think that like the presence of Him that they felt right there isn't with Him anymore.
So, like, we went to Freedom Night last night, and the guest speakers were talking about how you should not get caught as a new Christian, or even now, whether it be a conference, whether it be the week you got saved, anything. Do not get caught on the emotional high, because once you're up here,
oh yeah, that was good,
you don't have much room to go. Cut out the emotions. View God and your salvation as what it is in that moment. And from here, there is so much room to grow. There's so much room to trust God in things. But if you start up here and you're like, God's giving me everything I want, everything's going to go perfectly, everything's going perfectly right now, I'm never going to have anxiety, I'm never going to have those lustful thoughts, I'm never going to be angry again, that is completely wrong. Because we are still human and temptation is still real while we're here on earth. And if you view it this way up here, the only place you can go is back down.
Yeah.
But if you view it for what it is right now, in the present, each day, if you view it for how far you've come, there is so much more to go. If you see the surroundings as there's still pain and there's still heartache, it says that there may be pain in the night, but joy surely comes in the morning, because in your dry season, there is still room for the water to come.
Yeah.
And what this is saying is God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We're not. So we can only ever put our full trust and our full reliance in Him. We can only ever fully surrender to God in order to go further. Because if we get stuck on this high, then we can only go down from there.
Yeah.
And then we're not going to view God the same yesterday, today, and forever, because we're not diving in the same.
Yeah. That's a very good point. So the next thing I'm talking about is believing what He says about you. God, there are many verses in the Bible. We couldn't even like fit all in one podcast of like what He says about you, what He says that you are to Him. The next topic that we're going to be diving into is believing what He says about you. And the first thing that popped into my mind when I started writing about this was the song by Lauren Daigle. I think it's called "You Say." It's like, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I feel like I am weak. And I mean, this just goes to say that like even in our darkest moments, like when we feel we aren't enough, God says, the creator of the universe says that we are loved by him.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said before, he's not just a deity that tells us to do what we do, but he doesn't care about us.
Mm-hmm.
He loves us so deeply, and that when we can't feel a thing, he's there for us.
Mm-hmm.
We can reach out. He's just waiting for us to reach out to him.
Yeah.
And some verses to go along with this. Romans 8:16. For his spirit joins with our spirit to affirm that we are God's children. We do not belong to the world, we belong to him. We are a child of God. We do not belong to this world, to man. We don't belong to him. We are in this world, but not of this world. And that's something that, as believers, we have to just, like, that's why we have to be on guard. We have to guard our hearts for the attacks of the enemy. 2 Corinthians 5:17. This means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone and new life has begun. We are new in him. When we shed off our old ways of the world, we are new with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because our past does not define us. Like you took what the enemy meant for evil and you turned it for good. You used to be shamed about what you used to be so guilty of.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Your testimony.
into what you had, into what you are today, into who you are today. So
So we talk about this of like Moses had a speech impediment and God had called him to do great things. And Moses came crying to God saying, how am I supposed to talk to these people? How am I supposed to speak to these people with the gift you've given me up here? How am I supposed to translate it right here? And he sent his brother Aaron to be an interpreter for him, to speak for him. The ideas that Moses had, he sent Aaron to be a vessel for.
mm-hmm.
And if you're in a position and the only thing that's stopping you from trusting God is the fear of accomplishing it perfectly, God is going to send someone or something as a vessel, as a clear pathway. Just like in the snow, we have a shovel, a tool to clear our way. You're standing right here and your destination could be 2 feet in front of you, but if there's snow or ice in the way, you need a tool to help you out. And that could be someone sitting right next to you, someone in a different state, someone you haven't met, or someone you've met long ago. It could be something you used to do. It could be something you used to do that was bad, and God could be using it as a pathway to lead you to where he wants you to go. But you have to put your faithful reliance in him, and you have to trust him, and you have to give him your yes. You have to give him your yes now. Like, this podcast started with me saying, I don't know where to start. And I said, all I know how to do is get microphones. And Lawson said, then get microphones. Then just do that. Do what you know how to do. And God is going to provide everything else in honor of your yes.
The last subsection of this topic is that we are loved. We kind of touch up on it at the start of it, but we are truly loved by God, and we will never be able to fully understand the love that He gave us, He gives us. And it says in Romans 8 that the specific line that I remember, not even the powers of hell can separate us from God's love. And if we even try to grasp that, try to understand what that means, then why wouldn't we put our trust in God?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, God, you love me this much. I'm going to trust you with my life. I'm going to build my foundation on you alone, and not man, things of this world, anything like that.
My aunt was just talking to us, and she said something this way of, there are moments where as a Christian, you know you're supposed to talk to someone, you know you're supposed to do something, and then the fear sets in of, like I just said, oh, I'm not going to say it correctly. And I said something to her in response to that of, Well, I always counteract that fear with, why in that moment would I care about the same world who killed the person who died for me, who killed the person who created me, who killed the person who gave me an opportunity for life, for love, for freedom, to have a relationship with him? Why on earth would I not be a vessel to someone for his kingdom because I'm scared of what the world, the same world that hated him, I'm scared of what they're going to say?
Yeah. And it even says that the world will hate you just as
Yeah,
it hated me.
in John 15 too.
Mhm.
Guys,
Yeah.
read John 15.
Read it.
So good. If we are created in God's image, just like we were talking about the Holy Spirit, man, there is a hole inside of us. What are you filling that with? Christians are filling it with the Holy Spirit. They're filling it with God. They're filling it with his love, with his truths, right? And that is just burning inside of us. There is an ache and a pain and an emptiness inside of people who do not know Christ or do not surrender to him. So she said, nothing that you say about God that is good is going to leave them walking away empty. All you're doing is filling that hole in them just a little bit more than it was before. Because we are called to serve God. We were made to love him. If there is an emptiness inside of those people, you walking up and you saying, God, I trust you. If you're telling me to talk to this person, I trust you, because all you're asking for is for me to plant a seed in them. And she said, after she saw things that way, it made it so much easier for her to follow God's plan for her. Even when she didn't know what to expect, even when it was scary, even when she had doubts, she said, God, I'm going to trust you, because I know that this world longs for you, and that's all they long for. So me walking as a vessel for your kingdom is only going to benefit each person around me.
What does trusting in God feel like? When we put our trust in God, what do we experience? What do we feel in our heart?
I feel at rest.
Exactly. The first thing I have, peaceful. You feel peaceful. Because, like, okay, you go.
My mom always says, shelf it. And I think that's so good, but she says to close your eyes and imagine a shelf where you don't have a stool to get anything off of it. You only have a stool to put something on it so that you cannot reach it to get it back. You step on your stool and you grab whatever you're carrying on your shoulders, whatever you're carrying in your mind, whatever you're carrying in your heart. You grab it, and the only person who can reach that shelf is God.
Mm-hmm.
So you put it up on your shelf, and you have to be willing to release it. Just like in worship, there's different postures, right? And I feel when I put my hands like this, I'm saying, God, fill me, right? My hands are open to him. God, fill me. I'm ready to receive.
Yeah.
When my hands are like this, I'm not in a position to receive. I'm in a position to surrender. And this is just like shelving it. I'm taking what I have here, what I have here, what I have here. I'm taking what was behind me. I'm taking what I'm worried about, what's in front of me. And I'm taking whatever I'm worried about right here in the now. I'm taking it, God, and I'm shelving it.
Exactly.
It's in your hands now. I can't do anything with it. All it's doing is making me step behind. All it's making is me fall behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary to give it to God. And sometimes, you know what? You know that you haven't given it to God fully if you're still carrying the weight of it. Because if you have given it to God fully, there's not a moment where you're going to still carry the weight of it. He's taken it. He's taken the weight off. And there are times where I have to lay in bed deliberately and grab it physically and throw it. God, I didn't actually give it to you the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually give it to you the fifth time I did it.
Yeah.
But right now, I can't sleep until I fully give it to you. So Lord, in my surrender, I'm going from surrender to God. I'm ready to receive. I'm ready to receive the peace, the rest, the fulfillment, the love, the plan you have for me. But I know the first step is right here.
Our surrender to God could be the one thing holding us back from His plan for us. Us just taking one step and trusting God
Mm-hmm.
is the one thing that could, like,
Stop us from our purpose.
exactly.
Because just like we talked about in last week's episode about the
Mhm.
bad blueberries, the one thing in that season could be that you're surrounding yourself with the wrong people. That
Mhm.
could be stopping you. But say you're around all the right people. Say you're in front of all the right opportunities. Say you have all the means to do what God is telling you to do. But the one thing stopping you now is putting your trust in Him, is surrendering to Him. Surrender and trust go hand in hand. Because you can't sit right here with your hands closed holding on to what you have and say, okay, God, I trust you. And He's like, what are you giving me? What do you have in store? How are we going to walk hand in hand if you have closed fists, right? And I'm like, but I trust you because you told me to trust you. What you need to do is open your hands so you're willing to receive and release, and you need to surrender. And once you're in that heart posture, God has a whole plan for you that He's ready to provide.
Yeah. What does it feel like? Fulfilling. I mean, everything that we're talking about, trust, leads back to, like, being completely fulfilled by Christ.
Completely surrendering to Him.
Yes, exactly. When you put your trust in Him instead of the world, you'll be fulfilled more than you ever thought you could be.
My bunny is like, I'm going to have to post a photo on our social media
That's
about
actually
this.
so funny. Oh my gosh.
She's literally all sprawled out.
She's a noodle.
She's noodle. That's what we call her. She's noodling.
She's noodling.
It looks hilarious. But yeah, fun fact, I have a bunny and her name's Matcha. Okay, back to the podcast. The potty.
Okay.
I like to call it the potty, and Lawson says that it's weird.
To all ties back to being completely fulfilled by God. Because that's what you get by trusting Him.
Mm-hmm.
Like feeling at peace.
Mm-hmm.
And not like you said, the emotional high
Mm-hmm.
and then going back down. If we stay right here and trust God, we'll feel at peace with no matter where we are. We can shelf it to Him. We will know that we are loved, we're cared about. He gives us strength. We'll feel at peace. And we won't get that from anything else.
All the fruits of the Spirit that we read about come with your surrender. Like I said before, so it's kind of like offering. Like, here.
They're cute.
So, I have 2 chapsticks in my hand, and Lawson is like, I need chapstick. This is your line. You say, I need chapstick.
I need chapstick, babe.
And I'm like, go ahead. Take one. Do you feel like I'm giving it to you? Do you feel like you have to take it from me? And God gives us free will. So He's not trying to take it from us. It's about our heart posture. This is your offering to God, just like on Sundays. If your hand is closed, though, you're not ready to surrender to Him. But if my hand's open, I'm leaving more room to receive. I'm leaving more room for my plan. And I still have some left. And even if Lawson takes both of them, you may feel empty in a season. But in the end, God was just leaving room for a better plan for you. And now I have 3. Our perspective is everything. And we have the Bible as the blueprint to teach us that in the season where Abraham and Sarah were barren, God was asking them for their yes, for their trust, so He could give them a nation of generations.
Yeah.
In the season where David sinned with Bathsheba, God used his trust in him, his surrender afterwards, to use Bathsheba as the line that Jesus would be born from. Because where you are right now might look empty, might look hard, might look restless or feel painful. But you need to let go so God can take whatever is in the way of you receiving what he has for you. And obviously it's not going to be chapstick, but God has such bigger plans for you, and all you have to do is let go. You have to be able to surrender and receive the things that God has for you.
Exactly.
And it could be a physical sin that you have to let go of. It could be a relationship you have to let go of. It could be someone that's holding you back in a friendship. It could be a job. It could be a physical object, like a Carhartt hoodie, right?
Yeah.
It could literally be anything. God is not complicated, and he's not trying to make a fool out of you. So don't make yourself run in circles. Don't make yourself cross 5 lanes in the rain to get to God's plan and it be a closed door because you missed the first opportunity.
Yeah.
Say yes now and surrender now, because the fulfillment that will come to you, the plan that will come to you, the opportunities that will come to you with your yes are so much greater than what will happen if you wait and you're tired and you're exhausted and you complicate things and you say no, 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 and then all these doors close beside you and that's all you have left. Be where you are now. Be who you are now with open arms for God to use you to the fullest of your potential. We have a couple verses on trusting God that we'd like to share with you just to end off.
Romans 6:6. We know that our old sinful selves were crucified with Christ, so that sin might lose its power in our lives. We are no longer slaves to sin. And this reminds me of the song, I'm no longer a slave to fear, I am a child of God. And I mean, we already talked about it a little bit, but like, we're not a slave to our past. We can't let what we used to do affect us like how we are now.
Mm-hmm.
We are new. We are a new creation in Christ. We can let it go. Like you said, give it to him.
Mm-hmm.
We can shelf it. We can put it up to somewhere that only he can reach.
Mm-hmm. The verse I have is Matthew 6:6. Nope, I lied. The verse I have is Matthew 6:26 through 27. And I actually designed a girl's tattoo for this. But it says, look at the birds. They don't plant or harvest or store food in the barns, for your heavenly Father feeds them. And aren't you far more valuable to him than they are? Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? And the beginning of this is saying, the snail finds food. The ant finds food. And us, his most loved creation, will be provided for because he is a considerate God.
Mm-hmm.
He sees all and he considers all, from our emotions to our needs. And if he feeds the birds who are not planting anything, then the people that are vessels to him, that are working hard, that are making money, that are doing everything in their power to get food, to get to the place they want to be, will be provided for even more so. And in the end, it says, can all of your worries add a single moment to your life? The only thing that your worries are doing is taking time from your life. Mm-hmm. Is taking time that you could be working on the plan God has for you, that you could be initiating things to be a vessel for Christ. It's going to snatch your time. It's going to snatch parts of your plan. Your worries need to be casted on the Lord. It says, cast your cares on the Lord.
Exactly.
If you want to be taken care of, it's not something you have to beg for or plead for. It's not something you have to work for. He's already considered you. He's already considered your needs and your wants. He's already considered the desires of your heart. All he's asking you to do is trust him. All he's asking you to do is surrender. Trusting God is the best decision you can ever make besides accepting him, because that's the next step. Like we said in episode 1, once you've accepted him and the Holy Spirit, there's already a fire that burns within you. In episode 2, we talked about prying and removing the things that are tearing you down. Mm-hmm. Once you've released, so first we accepted, we got our hands right here. So God sees them. He sees our desire for him. But what we're doing is holding on to the things. In the last episode, we released things, but right now we're feeling a little bit empty because we let go of our past. We let go of those people. We let go of that relationship, of our sin, and we're feeling a little bit empty. And the next step is saying, okay, God, I surrender. And we lift it up. We shelf it. We get rid of it. And at this position, what he's going to do is he's going to fill your hands so you can take it back down here and share it with the people on the earth. Share it to grow his kingdom. Share it in your church. Share it in your workplace. Keep some for yourself to help you grow. What he's doing is creating a clear canvas to fill with a beautiful painting. All you have to do is trust him.
The last thing that I want to leave you guys with is something that she sent me yesterday, actually. So God's timing is perfect. What you fear the most often reveals where you trust God the least.
So put your faith in God and watch as he starts to eliminate those fears.
Yeah. And something that that I've been hearing is to randomly say Jesus loves you with just a random person, or to pray over somebody that I talked about in episode 1, the guy at the cabin, or to on my Panama trip that I'm gonna go on soon to delete a Devo. And I mean, I still get scared about it, and that's something I need to personally work on, is to start trusting God with that more, because like you said earlier, why would I overcomplicate that? It's just putting my trust in him and let him do the work for me, and then me just,
because you could still be scared and do it.
Yeah.
You could be scared the entire time, but in the end, watching the people come up to you saying, I needed to hear that, watching the smiles on people's face or the tears streaming down their face, you're being a vessel.
Yeah.
And you could be scared all the way through the plan that God has you, but you could surrender to him.
Exactly.
And everything will go so much easier.
Exactly.
Well, we hope you enjoyed episode 3, and we'll see you next Monday. Look out for more videos along the way.